Setting, inside a studio during a recording of a talk show, like The View. At Rise, there is a camera production crew facing a stage talk show set waiting to begin filming. Dandelion sits at her chair facing the camera crew. She is rehearsing a few lines. Character, Dandelion, a charismatic talk show host. Possum, an elderly father and a longtime resident of Swan Canyon. Hummingbird, a local resident of Swan Canyon, recently relocated to San Diego for her work as a real estate developer. Bumblebee, a part-time resident of Swan Canyon who lives there seasonally for work. And news reporter, a news reporter reporting the live footage.
Good evening, this is Canyon Today. In tonight's program, we're going to be taking a look at the recent tragedies extending into our region. We have 3 local guests joining us tonight to talk about just who's behind these atrocities and why. Stay tuned as our crew is behind the scenes now capturing footage, which you can catch 24/7 live streaming online for you folks at home. Okay, welcoming our guests tonight, we have Possum, Bumblebee, and Hummingbird. Welcome. Thank you all for coming out tonight. As you all know, our topic is one that hits home for everyone, as we're going to tackle the restoration, which has affected approximately 50,000 local residents, myself included. Let's start with simply asking the question on everyone's minds, which is, what do you think has caused this disturbance at such a catastrophic level?
I think it's important we consider how these changes are good. I know that I speak for others when I say I don't miss all the loads of plastic bottles, beer cans, and glass, right? Basically, the trash in Swan Canyon has reduced tremendously, which, as we all know, it just sits there taking up space for God knows how long till someone does the dirty work.
Now, Hummingbird's right. We must acknowledge both the positive and negative aspects. Can anyone else share anything beneficial about the restoration?
Now, I live just past the Oak Grove, and rumor around my neck of the woods is that this is all happening to restore Swan Canyon to its natural state. If that's true, then I see it as a benefit.
Natural states?
Yep, 18 generations of my family have lived in the same dwelling, and we've never seen our area being abused like it has been with all the new flora and fauna coming in.
Possum, what do you mean by abuse?
Okay, abuse is too harsh of a word. Selfish is more fitting. See, when we first tripled in residence, I loved all my new neighbors until I noticed that there was less and less resources for my family.
A bumblebee or a hummingbird, any thoughts?
We're all under threat from this, so to blame it on the new residents, new or old, is just insulting. If anybody is guilty here, it's the humans.
The humans have occupied around us for as long as my family have lived here, and they've never started a canyon preservation campaign till now. I don't think it's a coincidence.
You're right about population rates. According to our last census, Swan Canyon's population is record high with 100,000 species, 5 times our average since our last census. As a result, I think this crisis is a result of overcrowding. If this is the case, what do you feel we need to address as residents of Swan Canyon?
My entire hive is panicked. I was working my daily shift the other morning when I saw humans walking through and overheard plans for their hiking trail. They're gonna have to do a wide-scale removal and cleanup.
Of what?
Lots of things. They were really clear about getting rid of plants that could provide a canopy for homeless people, saying if the encampments were cleared, criminal activity would go down and people wouldn't use the canyon as a dumping ground. They said vegetative thinning isn't enough anymore and more force is needed. I suspect chemical warfare.
Let's stick with the facts, guys. I'm not here to entertain conspiracy theories.
Are you sure you were listening to the humans behind this? I mean, we do see a fair share of dog walkers and children passing through, and not to mention the humans who live amongst us.
I'm positive. They kept bringing up how clean and safe trails increase property value.
Okay, on that note, we're going to take a break. We'll be tuning into our crew for some live coverage when we get back. Welcome back to Canyon Today. For those just tuning in, I was just informed by our film crew that we have emerging news on a lead of what's to come of the habitat restoration. So let's see what's been unearthed by our team. How's it going on over there?
The show transitions to live footage. Shot of a reporter standing idly waiting to the signal to speak.
Hi, Dandelion. I'm here in Cactus Creek, and as you can see around me, there is a swarm of wildlife all around trying to secure a safe spot. Just this last hour, I've seen dozens of families of skunks, rabbits, lizards, and owls, to name a few, settling in.
Wow. Looks like it's filling up rapidly over there.
Right? Yes. Mm-hmm. It is quite a scene out here.
Is there any reason to the gravitation to Cactus Creek? Why are so many residents flocking there?
Yep. That's right, Dandelion. Well, we can certainly observe the trend is in fact to navigate over from the outskirts of the canyon inward. The strategy is to relocate fast for anyone situated in what we have now rendered as red zones.
Tell us where the red zones are.
Right, yes. Well, I can tell you that at this moment we're still figuring out what exactly makes a particular region vulnerable. But with the pattern we're seeing here, non-ornamental species are at a higher risk.
What's a non-ornamental species?
We also strongly urge both animal and plant life categorized under exotic or non-native to prepare for impending evacuation.
I'm just as curious as Possum. Can you tell us who exactly falls into these species at most risk?
The live footage goes abruptly blank, and a signal loss notice pops up.
Looks like we just lost connection, unfortunately. But moving on, they provided us with advisory warnings to any species categorized as exotic or non-native to prepare to evacuate.
Non-ornamental.
What?
You said exotic and non-native, but he also said non-ornamental species. You forgot to mention non-ornamental species.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So, anything that falls under those categories.
Does that mean my family is safe? Possums are native. I mean, we've never been called exotic, but what makes a species invasive?
All animals and plants that hurt our ecosystem and get in the way of other vegetation and wildlife by stealing nutrients and resources. Honestly, it's another benefit to all this because if humans stopped regulating here, then we'd all be outnumbered eventually by invasives. No offense.
Why would
I just don't want to be insensitive since you're a weed and all.
No. I'm not a weed. See? I'm a flower. I'm like a petite, cuter version of a sunflower.
Dandelion's flower, but they are weeds.
Dandelion's a weed and I'm a rodent, but we shouldn't have to suffer. We're natives. Natives can be invasive to their own home.
So I'm invasive?
I just find it ironic that you're concerned about a limited resource.
So am I not allowed to worry about my next meal, or is that just you, Possum?
You and Bumblebee have no right complaining about how scared or worried you are.
Wait, are you adding me into this?
You can both fly. You can safely come and go anytime you want and go unnoticed.
She's right. I have to be cautious every single damn time I go out just to get myself a meal.
Just because I can fly doesn't mean I can leave. My job's here. I can't leave my swarm and betray the queen. And newsflash, bees are worried about resources. Pollen has been harder to find since the bird feeders were installed.
Flies over to Hummingbird angrily and impulsively stings the hummingbird. Hummingbird and Bumblebee both fly away. Dandelion and Possum look at each other frustrated and shake their heads. Signal abruptly comes back to the live footage without the reporter.
Hello? Missed you earlier when we lost signal. How is the settling over in Cactus Creek going along? What's that machine there?
Everyone in the studio suddenly hears the sound of an engine whirring approaching.
San Diego Herbicide and Pesticide Services.
End of play. Orion Molitsky, please.